the most difficult and admirable thing like that you have to do for the site that people probably don't realize is like we had, and I think most people around like in the country really had the worst, and I mean this, like I'm not like the worst betting day of our lives in the Kentucky Derby this last year. Kentucky Derby day. We bought the Bible. We refunded anybody that asked. It was awful.
Yep. Totally
a disaster. Like just you couldn't make it up. Halterman has to sit down. You know, for me, I'm like I need a walk. I need to go like just leave for everyone. It needs to escape. Halterman has to sit down and handicap Sunday's racing at blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And Monday's racing and get right back to it. And I don't think people really understand what that takes mentally, because for me, I couldn't do it. And so for somebody to, like you say, when you're like, I got beat by this horse that, it couldn't, I had him locked up and this horse comes sweeping by and you're just like, that happens every day to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say here is what kind of advice would you give anybody that maybe not, obviously no one's doing what you're doing,
right?
Anybody that's betting horses a decent amount, taking some tough beats, and having kind of the all money that you can afford to lose, right? But like has the will. Like, what kind of advice do you give somebody to kind of stay with it?
This is such a well-timed question. You have no idea. So Saturday morning in Las Vegas. Jon White texts me at like 8 a.m. He's already in the sports book, right? I really never have got an opportunity to talk to Jon one-on-one and it not be about this major Breeders' Cup race coming up or just the relief that it's over type of thing, right? So I went down there, and one of the things I asked him, I said that the thing that I still struggle with, even though we're this far into it now, is how do you bounce back from losses? I still have trouble doing that. And he laughed. He said, there's no like answer to that. But he said, I'll tell you a story. One day he was at the sports book. This was back probably, 20 years ago. I don't know how long specifically. And he said, I just happened to sit by a guy who basically wrote the book on sports betting. And the guy told him, he's like, look, there isn't a shortcut. There isn't anything you can do once the game starts. It's whatever happens, gonna happen.
Yeah.
All you can do is work as hard as you can to come up with the angles that you play and know that you've done everything you could do. You worked as hard as you could on it. And then however it plays out, that's just how it plays out. And you have to get to that mindset. You can't let it eat you up. Like, you can't sit here and watch this game and be cussing the whole time if something bad happens. He goes, you can't do it. You just have to look up and go, well, it didn't go the way I thought. But you get to that point when in your head, you've done everything you could do to try to do the best you could for that specific race, game, whatever. And if you've done that, just live with it after that, because you can't control it. You're trying to predict the future. He said, I spend hours and hours and hours and I miss these games, with all the time. But, you just have to put in the work and you will beat the game if you put in the work, but you're going to miss a lot of things. So just get over it. And I mean, honestly, like that's very simple advice, but to hear it from Jon White and to hear it from, I can't remember the guy's name, it kind of just makes you think, hey, there isn't really a secret. Some days it's just not going to be your day type of thing. It mentally, it can be very tough. Is the way to sum that up. You've got it, and I realize it, and I realized before I even asked him, but you just have to kind of get to that mindset of, look, I did the best I could, and it didn't work out today,